episode number 239 with Steve and Mike.
I got X-ray specs for eyes. I can see right through you. I can read.
Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is the soon-to-be fired Mike Snyderman. Is that I understand it, Steve? You're moving on.
Yes.
You've gotten sick of listening to me whine, and the only way you could totally break the shackles is to start a new podcast.
Yes, yeah, change the name and everything, whole format, all that. I'm looking forward to it.
Tell me about what's it going to be from here to forward here? I don't know.
Well, everyone that's subscribed, it should still stay on the show. There's just going to be new artwork and a new name. It'll be In It to Win It with Steve Barton. And I feel like in the last 6 months, maybe a year or so, I've kind of been branching out to just other things and stocks and sports betting, gambling, whatever. And so I'm excited. I wanted to do the last episode with you, though, Mikey. Kind of a good little send off to the HUPP.
Okay. So Carlos and Clayton weren't available, is what you're telling me.
Or Mark Alioto or Derek Tenbush, or some other guy you've never heard of.
Some random guy off the street.
Yeah.
So give me, who do you think? Give us a taste. Who do you think, if everything goes to plan, who will you probably be interviewing over the next few months? What kind of things will you be talking about?
Next guy I'm going to bring on, his name's Rob Barr. He hooked up with me through a listener of the show, Dave, and he was on with me at the Poker Bros for a while. And this guy is just a wizard at open face Chinese, and he's also a winning player at Hold'em, and not so much tournaments, but cash games. And so I think we'll talk a little bit of cards, and he's also like a financial advisor. So that really sticks in well with what I've been doing the last few years with stocks and stuff. And
right.
So I'm going to have him on with my buddy Danny, and we'll pick his brain on that, and probably get some tips here and there, maybe some little investment advice. And
let me know ahead of time if you're going to be talking about Bitcoin so I can skip it.
Okay. Yeah.
That subject depresses me for reasons you probably can understand right now.
Oh yeah, I sold out and got out of that at 10 grand, and the last I looked a couple days ago was up at 18 or something. I'm like, wow, that was.
You're still you made money overall though, right?
I did, yeah. I made.
Even with all the crappy altcoin shit, you still made money overall in your whole crypto thing, right?
I did, yeah. So I can't beat myself up too much about that, but it's just like, wow, had I just held out a couple of months, that would have been far more profitable.
I don't know. These people are saying it's going to go up to 250,000 by the time I'm 60. Maybe they're right. Maybe I got to just find a way to get one goddamn Bitcoin, and that'll be But
I've found that generally speaking, whatever the most of the public is doing is wrong. If you can do the opposite of that, so it's just skyrocketed right now. I think it would probably
wait till it goes down again.
Yeah. I mean, like, people are just getting in so much, it's just driving up the price, and you either got in or you missed it. Just wait for the next one. They follow these patterns of cyclic up and down, and
right.
My purchase point for the next one's probably going to be 3,000 to 4,000, something like that. If it ever even gets down,
I don't know if it'll ever get down to that.
It may not, but that's where it would fit into the pattern that I'm seeing of it kind of following this channel. And, that would be my price point. Maybe it's different for other people.
Yeah, that sounds low. I think, well, it depends if you have the money to hold it. If you believe in it long term, then you can buy now, and you're still seeing it going up, but whatever.
Yeah.
I played ACR last night for the first time in a year.
Oh, how was that?
Kind of, because I'm home. I'm not going to be home all week with my son. I made a little bit of money. Nice. Played 3 tournaments, cashed 2 of them.
Wow, that's a good.
One of them I was like a chip leader with like 40 players to go in a 50K, and I went out in 26th. Yeah, but still made money.
Nice.
So I, got my, had to rebuy the HUD, the poker tracker.
Okay.
For my new computer.
Yeah.
So I got my setup here, my nice big screen, and I don't know. We'll see if I can get excited about that. I actually watched a little bit of the TPE training video too with Andrew.
Oh, nice. Which one did you watch?
Whatever his last one was, it was a hand history review with a TPE member.
Okay, cool.
So
Cool.
we'll see if I can get back in that direction there. But why am I even sharing that information? Oh, Bitcoin. Yeah. Maybe I'll make Bitcoin money somehow there.
Yeah. Is that how you deposited? Was Bitcoin, or did you use a credit
No,
card?
cash, but withdrawing by cash is Christ impossible on that site. You got to take it off with Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Assuming I make money on it, which is a big assumption. ECR can be tough, but you never know. They got these big tournaments. Maybe I'll hit one of these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you gonna be getting a whole new website, a whole new insignia there? Now that are you gonna hire someone to jazz it up there?
Well, we've already got our editor, Andrew, that's been editing the podcast and doing the website and everything. Right now, I'm just concerned with getting the new artwork, the new name.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Artwork and
Yeah, that shouldn't be that big a deal. And as far as the website and stuff, I think eventually I'm going to have to do that. Yeah, I'll have to change the domain name. There's kind of a lot that comes with this, but yeah, one step at a time. Get the name, get the artwork, and then I don't know about Twitter. I'll probably just, because if I change my Twitter handle, I got to start all over, right?
No.
Oh.
You can change. Well, I mean, you can change your name just from HE, and as long as the name is, yeah, I've changed my name several times.
Okay.
It used to be Rampage Poker, and then it's.
But you've always been at Mike Snyderman, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would have to keep the at HUP podcast.
Oh, God, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were at Steve Barton, and it was
no, that would have been the intelligent
podcast
thing to
was
do.
The name of. Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah,
no, I did the at HUP podcast and then put my name as Steve Barton. I should have done it the other way around.
Well, just
didn't think of that 5 years ago.
Well, I'm sure you'll reach the mountaintop here, Steve. Whatever. So the old Heads Up Poker podcast stuff. Is there any way we can take that down?
Just completely delete it.
I don't have to go back and I told you I would never. You couldn't pay me to listen to the old episodes of me just exposing my absolute ignorance, pretending I know anything about poker and whining about this and that and whatever. But
it amazes me when people say, like, I found you a year ago and started at episode 1 and listened the whole way through. And I'm like, wow, I went back and listened to some of those first episodes and I couldn't get 4 minutes through it without just throwing up in my mouth. That was a rocky start. But that's a super fan right there.
At least now I've reached some self-awareness here. I'm not good at poker, but if I sit around in a poker room enough, I've become disciplined to know how to make money. Not enough to make a living.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. I mean, I'm going to try to, just to give you the life update. I'm trying to find I said I'd never do a roommate again. I didn't want to get my spot, but I'm trying to find someone I really like, a couple poker players maybe.
Okay.
Because paying $1,600 for a studio apartment stupid when 3 people can get a massive house for $4,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, or even 2 guys can get a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom place, and you may even pay less than 16.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look into it. So what do you do for Thanksgiving, Steve? Is that?
I'm working.
Go to your brothers in Vegas now? Working.
Yeah, I'll be working. Then the day after Thanksgiving, I'll be going out to my brother's place. He moved to Atlanta, Georgia. So Carlos's neck of the woods. He's out there now. And so I'll be flying out there the day after Thanksgiving and then coming back, I think early December. I'll be out there for like 4 or 5 days. So that'll be cool. I haven't seen him in about a year. Yeah, but I'll be at the fire station. Thanksgiving at the fire station is always kind of cool because it's a holiday routine. There's no training or anything you really have to do other than just run calls. And, we get together. I got a ham yesterday. Some of the other guys are bringing in some sides. And so it'll just be football and Thanksgiving. But,
You got to probably a good kitchen there. You don't have to cook it at home and bring it there, right? Somebody
exactly. Yeah. We got a pretty badass stove and oven and everything, and it's like a Viking or a Wolf. I can't remember which one, but yeah, we don't skimp on stoves in the fire service. That's
Right.
for sure. But, we can't have our families over this year though because of COVID, and I know a lot of the guys are pretty frustrated about that because it's like, well, in the morning we leave. I mean, I'm not married or anything, but for the guys that are, which is 95% of them, they leave their wife and children in the morning, then they come to the fire station. Now their family isn't allowed to come to the fire station 6 hours later. So I think what they're worried about is cross contamination between one family at the household to another family that's coming from another guy's place. But I think you kind of already have that, right? I mean, like if they both leave their families that morning and then go to the fire station, they've kind of essentially already been cross exposed, no?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to, although this is getting worse. Supposedly, it's growing. If they shut down again, I'll be fucking crushed. I don't know. I'll be lost. But the whole economy, a lot of people the same way.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. I mean, yeah, I think it's just silly though. If you want to just go with your family wherever, you should go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to just assume that I've had it at this point and fought through it, but I don't know.
I don't know either.
Talk to someone who has it. When it comes, it hits you like a ton of bricks. It comes fast and hard. So I'm actually guessing I haven't, but I'm saying I obviously have been exposed to it many times. So maybe I'm just lucky here. I don't know.
I think so. I think it's just some people are lucky, and I think I gave the story about the guy at work that his daughter and his wife had it. He drove home in a car with the windows up and the AC on from Utah to California. He never got it. They were in the house while he was quarantined at home for 2 weeks. He never got it. Keeps testing negative. Like, I think some people are just like immune to it. Another guy got it, was asymptomatic. The only thing that happened to him is, and this part's a little bit scary, I guess, is it's been like a month and he still hasn't really gained his sense of taste, but he never got like sick. You know what I mean? It's just like he tested positive for it and his food doesn't really taste the same ever since. There's a guy that my brother and my sister-in-law work with, and he got COVID 4 months ago, made him horribly sick. And since then, 4 months later, he still doesn't have a sense of taste and smell. So is that shit ever going to come back, or is that just the way it is from now on for him? Or I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of freaky.
Yeah. So do you roll snake eyes and get that, or do you roll double sixes and you're the guy that can be literally living in COVID for 2 weeks?
Well, I don't know. Can you drink kale smoothies and not vomit? I guess that would be the upside of it. If you can't actually taste it, I don't know. You can eat healthier.
Certainly could.
Medical miracle, Steve.
Yeah.
It's amazing you never got chlamydia. You know what I mean? I mean, we don't these things. Some people are just dancing between the raindrops there, I guess.
Yeah. But so I don't know.
So who else on your show? I'm sorry. Go ahead. What was you going to say?
Oh, I don't remember. I lost my train of thought. Who else on the show?
If you just coming down the, so what's the strategy is? I mean, the structure of it's going to be kind of the same. You're just going to introduce a guest and talk, and probably still have an inspirational speech at the end.
Yeah, everything will be the same. Just the name of the show. I'm just hoping to bring in people that the only way they're finding this show is if they have an interest in poker.
Right? And, sure.
I think there's I don't know how big the audience is, but there's definitely an audience that would be interested in the show that have never played cards. And,
yeah. Well, that's what, I'm hoping to do. Expand. I'd eventually like to talk about people, but, want to talk about movies and books and politics and shit like that,
Exactly.
So that'll be, so we're both kind of tweaking off, but the one thing we have in common, Steve, we both like listening to me talk. So there we go. We got something to bring us together. These two gingers.
The
Or at
one
least
thing
you've
the
been-
two of us
you-
have in common. We just love hearing you yap.
Well, okay, with different degrees of affection for that, but
Yeah,
it's
your
cool,
show
it's
is
exciting.
coming along, man. It's so if
Well.
you guys want to watch it on YouTube, or you can click play and stick it in your pocket and listen to it. It's Broke Ass Grinder Poker. So Broke Ass Grinder is all one word and then a space poker, and Mikey will be the first one that comes up.
Right.
And I was on your show 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And yeah. On election day, that's what it was, November 3rd.
Was it?
So I'll put a link in the show notes for you guys if you want to click on that. You've had Carlos on twice already, because you just had him on
Yeah.
a few days ago.
Yeah. Well, just talking to Carlos is fun. So that's a lot of my conversations that I have with people. I'm like, this is a intelligent, interesting conversation. Just put it on YouTube,
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you find me on Twitter, there'll be links to, the videos there too. So
Yeah. So at Mike Snyderman on Twitter. But yeah, I'm excited to see more of that. Anytime you need a random guest, let me know.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah.
What else is going on, Stevie? You got a girl still or what? No?
Yeah. We've been.
Is this the girl you run with? No, that was someone different.
No, that was a while ago. No, this one. Yeah, we've been dating for a few months, maybe 4 to 6 months, something like that.
What's her deal? I'm sorry, you probably have already told me about her, and I can't remember.
I don't think I've mentioned her on the show yet. I don't know. We're kind of in the same line of work, and which is
Is she an EMT or what is she?
paramedic.
Okay,
And,
maybe we have talked about her. Yeah.
Oh, have we? Okay.
I don't know,
Okay.
she young, Steve?
Younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah. By how old am I now? I'm 41. She'll be 34 here soon.
Oh, okay. Not a real.
So I'm not robbing the cradle.
I know you're not done with the college girls yet, Steve. Just this is we're dealing with a
block
mature
that
woman temporarily, just for.
The last time we talked, I was on your show and it was election day, and we've now seen how that's panned out. And I don't think I've been quite so wrong on something before in my life. That was I did not expect that.
In predicting the election,
Yes,
did you? I forget. You had money on Trump.
I did have money on. You forget how many times we've been talking about this for years. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't even the bet where you as long as you weren't doing the real time betting, like a lot of the poker players, of course, are always ahead pushing edges. And, Trump was like, by the betting odd, like a 77% favorite at one point on election night. He started the day like a 30% chance, and then it kept going up and up and up. So the odds kept changing where you were, you could make money on Biden now, bet whatever it was once, bet 100 and win 170 or something.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were jumping all sorts of money on that. All the people who knew that the votes hadn't been counted in Pennsylvania and here and there, so.
Yeah, no, that was the mistake I made. I was quite certain when I went to bed election night that Trump was the winner, and so I doubled down. And when I woke up the next morning, I realized, wow, that was a mistake. That was a boo boo.
How much money did you lose on the election?
About $1,000.
Wow.
I felt pretty certain, but
That's a
that
pretty
was
big
obvious.
bet from you, Steve. That's
It is a pretty big bet. Yeah,
that's usually your 100, 200 is like your as much action as you can take. I'm sorry, Steve.
It's all good.
Yeah, I'll have to figure this out. My new computer.
You got all
I don't know. It's wired into my phone now, I guess, which is okay. But
okay, right on. Yeah, it was. I guess I justified it. Like, well, in the last 2 days, I've bought $4,000 worth of stocks and sold probably $1,000 worth. So I'm regularly moving bets like that all the time. Today, I bought 2 stocks, $1,000 each. Yesterday, I bought 2 stocks, one $500 worth, the other $1,500 worth. So I'm used to moving that kind of money. I guess I just looked at it as another one of those. Yeah, that one. I guess the difference is, like, when I'm wrong on a stock, I end up just keeping it. It pays me this little 3% dividend until it goes up above what I bought it. And I end up, it's kind of tough to lose unless the place just completely goes bankrupt. You know what I mean? And
Right.
this one, it was very instant. It was like, wow, that was just fucking shit that away. Because I bet red and it came out black. That was unexpected.
Right. Well, according to Trump, I think maybe there's still a couple of these sports books who haven't paid out because they're just, technically it's, I mean, the winner's been declared, but it's,
Yeah.
there's still, I'm assuming this is going to come to nothing. Trump's efforts to overturn the election.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to that legal nonsense, but
once I realized I lost, I just kind of quit caring. And
right.
then yeah, I guess for me, right, like over the last 4 years, as far as my CPA has told me, basically Trump has gotten me like an extra 10 grand. So I was looking at this election like, okay, if he wins, I will end up saving about 10 grand in taxes. If he loses, I don't know how much more I'm going to have to pay under Biden, but I know it's going to be more, so it was probably a $10,000 election to me. I don't know what it is to other people, but that's what it worked out for me. So that monetarily, I think is my.
That was funny. I was hanging out with one buddy. He never votes, but he's got a business which has been taken off, and he now makes, I don't know what he makes, 300,000-400,000 plus a year. And he's like, he voted for Trump.
Yeah.
He's like, F this. But I think Biden said he was going to jump the max tax rate from 40 to 50 or 60 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. You people of money confuse me. I don't really pay attention too much. Rich guys like you, Steve. Now, so when you do say I bought $1,000 of stock, this is still you trying to spin the day trading thing, or are you looking? Is there anything you're holding here? I mean, do you have like little Tesla and Amazon and that kind of shit? Just kind of.
I've got well, let's see. What are the last couple that I bought? One of them was the ticker is Lima Foxtrot Charlie LFC. It's a life insurance from China. What was the other one? It was we got into China Mobile. It's like a cell phone type service. They're working on 5G. They have almost 1 billion subscribers, most of them out of China. So
you're not America first here, Steve.
In
politics, you voted, but now, I think China is probably very happy with the election result. I think.
I'm sure they're ecstatic. Yes.
So this is good for Chinese business. So that's where the Barton dollars go, huh?
Yeah. They just moved from getting crapped on to now they have unlimited supply of sushi. They just it's a complete turnaround.
So do you have these stocks at already locked in at a sell point? Like if they reached a certain high, you'll have locked up the profit you were expecting and you'll sell, or how does this work?
Basically, so I'm only picking ones that they pay some type of dividend. So at least once a year, preferably 3 times a year. Some of them pay a dividend every month. If I'm wrong or the stock goes sideways, like I bought China Mobile at $30 a share. And if I'm wrong and it goes down to 28 and stays there for the next 2 years, I know that I'm going to get a dividend, like 3-4% annually, and I'm going to get paid every 3 months. And so eventually, I mean, if it just stayed at 28 forever, you'll make up more than you bought in for. And so I like ones like that, and what I'm looking for is I'm looking for specific patterns in the graphs. To me, it kind of looks almost like a chessboard or a poker problem, or it's just I just see patterns in this, and you can find little like 6 months ago when it went up to $44, it dropped, and then 3 months ago when it went up to $43, it dropped. Right now it's at 41. I think it's pretty likely that when it gets up to 42, 43, or $44, it's going to drop again. It kind of gets in this little channel, like this Charlie Brown pattern. And so selling and then buying and then selling and buying. And then there's other ones that I'm just buying and holding and I'm never, ever going to sell. And that's ones like the S&P 500. You just buy in, just accept that over the long run, it's going to make you 13%. It's going to pay you a dividend, and you never touch the principal in there. You just draw off the interest when you're ready to retire. So it kind of depends, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I dig it. Especially every month when you look at your statements and it's like, so far this year, I've got about 30 grand worth of bets, and I've made almost 1,000 just in dividends. And I've made 2,500 something.
You refer
like
to them as bets and not as purchases, which is, I think, which is interesting. But that's what they are.
Yeah, they are. They're just a
I
bet.
guess, yeah.
You know, it's gambling is what it is. You know, but I think it's calculated gambling, and
Edges are there.
they're, oh man, yeah. And it you know, it's funny, just before the election happened, I called a couple of buddies and I'm like, hey, you know, because they with their retirement accounts, they had held out, you know, 20-25% just in a fixed account. And before the election, I called them up and I'm like, hey, the graphs are looking pretty good for getting, you know, that last little bit into the market. And they all universally said, they're like, you want to do that just before the election? And I'm like, oh, you know, that thought had never even crossed my mind. Like, I don't even really like pay attention to the news. I'm just a graph reader. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, you know, I don't know. I hadn't thought about that, but I'm just telling you that 57% of the time I'm correct. So take it or leave it. And right after the election happened and the Pfizer thing came out with the 90% effective COVID vaccine, and everything shot up like, you know, 20-30% on these individual stocks. And I'm like, huh, okay, I guess the graphs trump news. You know,
Right.
it's like, but
Well, I would think when you say you don't follow the news, just the graphs, though, I think a lot of perceptive investors are probably zoned into what's going on in the world. And there's a lot of, just by little political changes, I would think that. I mean, did you see the movie about the Facebook founding? Just
no, what's it called?
The Social Network. It's like big time movie, I think.
Okay.
You know,
Was it on
but
Netflix or
anyways,
something?
there's one of the co-founders. He's like talking about he made $100,000 in oil futures. He's like, how do you do that? Well, he was watching the weather. He's like, well, once you knew that there was somehow, because the oil production would go down if the weather was bad. You know what I mean? So he was like, there's probably some weird shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are zoned into their own. They're zoned into their own little things that they're looking at that are, you know, I don't know. Anyways, so probably when Trump went to 77% on election night, somebody was buying a shitload of something. And
Yeah.
pissed off the next day then when he found out.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, maybe I should pay more attention to the news. I guess my edge is in patterns and
Sure.
And so that's what I exploit, you know.
How are you doing with your football picks this year? Your fantasy football or whatever you do, I forget.
Fantasy football, not so hot. I'm 5-6 for the season. The top 6 make the playoffs. I'm in 8th place right now. I had an amazing week last week in fantasy football. I won the week and won overall out of the 14 teams. I got highest points. But in my pool, out of a possible, I believe it was 35 points, I only got 5, which is the lowest I've ever gotten in 2 years. So that was a bit of a stinger. So I went from first place down to 6th, I think, in 1 week. So hopefully this week's a little bit better.
Are you in any of the survivor pools still?
I'm in one survivor pool. There, out of 14 of us, there is 7 left. I have 1 loss. It's a 2-loss elimination. And but there's only 2 guys that have no losses. So I think this week will be pretty good because there's like 3 or 4 games where the highest spread is like 7 points. And then there's another one for 6.5, 6 points and 6 points. So I think there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to pick different teams, and probably not all of those will hit. So hopefully I get lucky and hit mine that hits. And
who are you picking?
I picked New Orleans minus 6.5. The reason I went with them was, well, first of all, the other 2 teams I couldn't pick because I've already picked them. The way these survivor pools work is you can pick one team to win that week, and then you can never pick them the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I went with the Saints. And I think that was I think it was a decent pick. I'm just going by the point spread. Who's ever got the biggest spread, I take that, and also the lowest over under. So let's say you have two teams. Like this week, we got Cleveland Browns -6 against Jacksonville. The over under is 49. And then there's another one that's -6. Which one is it? -6. Cleveland. No, not Arizona. New York Giants is -6 against Cincinnati, but their over/under is only 43. So in that case, you want to take New York instead of Cleveland because the over/under is a difference of
there's less points in the game.
Exactly.
There's less chance of
an upset.
Yeah.
Exactly. That makes sense, right?
I guess. Yeah.
So this also works for picking defenses in fantasy football. You would rather have New York with an over at -6 with an over under of 43 than you would rather than have Cleveland at -6 with an over under of 49. So
right.
Yeah, you basically take 49, you subtract 6 and get 43, and then divide by 2. So what would that be? That'd be 21 and a half. And that's how many points Jacksonville should score. And then when you take, then add that to the other side, and that'll give you Cleveland. But I think I explained that articulately. I'm not sure, but that's basically the game. Yeah. So I ended up taking the Saints at -6.5 because the over under was 43. So it's slightly better than 6 at 43. And I like New Orleans better against Denver than either of the other two. Than the
How's
Giants.
your brother doing with these? Have you talked to him? Isn't he the maestro of maestros when it comes to all this stuff?
I really need to have him on the show, and maybe what I'll do is I'll bring my microphone out to his house, because I think he and I could put together an hour episode without even blinking. And I'm hoping he can give up a bunch of his sports betting knowledge, because he's to sports like I am to poker. I would think. He's just really got a mind for it.
Done it for a long time.
Yeah, he's done it for 15 years profitably, and just really smart when it comes to this stuff. It's very instinctual for him. I think the difference between he and I is he's more shy than I am. It's a reward for you or I to spontaneously have to be given a microphone and talk in front of a bunch of people. That would almost be kind of a punishment for him. He's the guy that would rather kind of be in the shadows.
Just guilt him into it somehow, Steve.
Yeah,
I'm sure you got something on the guy.
Yes, I've never had him on the show. I think it'd be a good one. Maybe I'll do that when
for sure
when I go out to Atlanta. Because everyone can learn a lot from his sports betting mind.
Have you decided what the artwork for the new show is going to be? Is there any? Can you give us the concept, or are you still mulling it over?
I don't.
We're all demanding, Steve, a little animated. We have like a little animated video of you walking across, the screen on your site, or something cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. I wonder if some colors are better than others as far as attracting attention, or.
I don't know. When I had the rampagepoker.com, I went for purple and gold. I like those colors. I like the regal presence. But,
yes.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've read somewhere that I think blue and like green are the best for catching your eye or something.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah. So maybe it'll be in blue lettering with a white background or something. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I need to, oh yeah. You remember how, Steve, I did a delivery truck for one day and crashed it?
Yeah.
So I had another job. I had another job where I was fired after one day.
Oh,
and this was volunteering.
Wow.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of telling it in a humorous way, but it's sort of I got a buddy I play poker with all the time, this Indian guy. Anyways, you can go to the website. It's called Car Bevy. but he's gone to Wharton School, brilliant guy. He's given up his very high paying job to start this site. He's very ambitious. He's like, thinking could have $100 million evaluation within a year kind of thing right from the beginning.
Okay.
But anyways, he wanted me to help him sell. And I guess the deal is, I can't explain it too much. You go on the site and it's different than CarMax and a lot of these things, but basically it's like name your own price it's like Priceline for cars. I guess. I don't know. You get it, but you put a price in and you can lock it down. Like it goes to every dealer within 100 miles who you sign up. He wanted me to go out and sign up dealers for this site. So you look at, if you know the MSRP price on a Toyota, you put it in, maybe you take $500 off. Okay. And then all these dealers have a chance to accept or not. And
so he's selling it to dealers, not to individual buyers.
Well, no. Well, yeah, the dealers will. Basically, how you get paid is you pay $1,000 deposit to like lock up a car, and if the deal goes through and if they sign the financing, car bevy gets a chunk of that, gets 300 or something, I forget. But anyways, if you talk to the guy, he had me believing in it. But I went out with him and we did sales and I talked and stuff, and he was like, he wanted me to go the next day on my own. I'm like, dude, I want to learn a little bit more about it. And he's like, I need full passion.
You're all in or all out?
I wasn't really. I mean, we talked on the phone and this, and I wanted like a little more training, I guess. But it's also like sales is just a different animal, Steve. You got to, especially when these car lots, you walk on, they're immediately hostile to you. I'm not used to that. I don't know if I'm up for that. So I was pretty honest. You show up, they're like, I'm sorry, we're busy, or yeah, I'll give us and he's like, you got to keep following up. So actually the next day I did go back to one of these places where the lady said she was going to contact the sales manager and she didn't happen to be in. So it wasn't really fired, but it was like, Mike, if you're not going to be totally passionate, yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I could have helped him. It's kind of interesting, Steve. I don't know if it's the Indian culture though. Watching him on the sales vid, it's funny. Like he'd be talking to him. Yes, if I could adjust me to minute your time. Like, sorry, I'm very busy right now. He's like, yes, that's why I just asked for a minute. And he'll keep. And then one lady listened to us for a while, and she's like, well, thank you. I got to go back to work, but you will hear from me. He's like, well, I want to show you this now. Like I'm like, dude, just back off a little. But I'm probably wrong that like just pushing and pushing and pushing is the way to do it. But it is kind of funny there.
I believe in no pressure sales.
He's indifferent to people not ignoring him. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. Maybe you need that.
Rejection is just not even in his vocabulary.
But I'm 0 for 2, Steve, in my work here. Let's see what the next one is. I don't know if I'll be able to get on the road with Uber soon. I'm hoping to. The Uber measure that what the Uber drivers wanted passed, where that was a state referendum.
Well, wait. It passed, but that means that it's business as usual.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't know. The bill was, I can't remember if I vet yes or no, but basically the state of California was trying to make the Uber drivers not individual contractors, but employees.
Yes.
And I guess this was but all it would do is like Uber just suspends. They're not going to run if they have to give everyone a 401k and all that shit. You know what I mean? So if you're an Uber driver, even if you feel like, oh yeah, this is good, more money, like it's just, if you want to drive, you had to do what you had to allow the ride share without, you have to allow the private contractors quotation mark. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it was. I rode with a couple of Uber guys just before this passed and picked their brains on it. And they said basically what they're trying to do is, like you said, they're trying to make you an employee to where you're going to work 40 hours a week. You're going to get health benefits, dental, and like a retirement package, like a 401k. They said, and now the thing about that is they're like, I really like being able to work either 50 hours a week or 10 or none. And this would basically make me an employee that I have to drive during certain times. And with all those benefits, it's going to make the ride so pricey that a lot of people are probably going to choose to not do Uber,
Yeah.
And they both said that. And then I was like, okay, so which way do I need to vote so that we keep the status quo and I can get a $6 Uber ride from my house to downtown to the bar? And then they both said, vote yes. And I'm like, all right, that's what I'm doing. And I know Uber was super pushing that. They spent like 80 million or something like that just in trying to get it to
Right.
pass.
Yeah,
And
I
it
mean,
did.
I don't.
So it should be status quo now as an Uber driver, just like it was before.
I think
that
so. I
proposition.
mean, maybe switching to that is not a terrible idea. Of course, a lot of people do the Uber just as like a side gig, so they wouldn't do it enough
Yeah.
for. And I'm sure there's people could break it down as like, listen, this doesn't necessarily have to increase the cost of the ride share. All this is doing is cutting into the profit margin of the guys who own it, who can afford to pay their drivers more. But I'm sure there's a flip side. But basically, I personally couldn't get on the road. And the funny thing now that I'm thinking, they still haven't confirmed all my information I sent them, but I know I definitely could not get on the road until this was resolved. They didn't want any more drivers out there, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
Or maybe
yeah,
that was
probably
COVID
the way
related.
I put it.
I'm not sure, but they weren't accepting any new drivers before.
Okay. I was afraid that Uber was going to go away. At least the way they pitched it to me is they're like, if this thing doesn't pass, you're going to be dealing with probably a lot fewer drivers and a lot higher prices for Uber, which may wipe it out of California. And I'm like, well, I really like Uber. I use it often, and I don't want to see it go away. It's extremely convenient. So whatever we're doing now is working. Let's not mess that up.
Yeah, some of the stuff, like, a lot of people, like, I thought it was convenient at the beginning where you could get Ubers for your kid.
Really? I didn't know you could do that.
Well, you can't anymore. They banned it.
Oh.
But like, to me,
Why?
that was a pretty, I don't know. I'm sure there was probably some 14-year-old girl at an Uber driver grab her by the ass or something. You know what I mean? Who
Okay.
knows what it
Yeah.
was? But
Yeah.
yeah, you hate to see, like I said, that's convenient if you're a parent. I think, you know what I mean. Just have my son get an
Oh
Uber.
yeah,
If
you
I
just
need-
Uber the guy, your
but-
kid home from soccer practice while you're at work.
But once a business takes off, there's always going to be the certain legal complications they didn't anticipate, and just a bunch of people looking to sue just to make $1, of course.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of cars, I think I'm going to get not a brand new truck, but a new truck to me. I've got you've seen my little 2001.
Don't you have like 300,000 miles on it or something?
350,000 miles, yeah, on my little Toyota pickup, 1990, brand spanking new. And I think the whole reason I bought it was when I was doing Amazon. I'd have to make a 20-mile trip there and back to the auction house with like pallets worth of stuff, and trying to stuff that in my Honda Civic was just horrible. So I ended up getting this pickup, and within the first week, just the amount of stuff that I was able to move paid for the truck. And I think I've got this emotional attachment to it that I haven't been able to let go. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell the pickup and then sell my 01 Honda Civic. And with that money and a few grand more, I should be able to get, I've never had a vehicle with a key fob, where you can push the button and the doors unlock, or like push a button and the trunk opens. Like, never had a vehicle with electric windows ever. It's just, I've owned 4 vehicles in my life, and they all have their own. Out of the 4 vehicles I've owned, 3 of them have been stick shift. Like, I think I'm going to get like one where I can have the technology to, like, when I get in the
newer
car,
truck, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, like I can turn up the volume on the stereo with like a little button on the steering wheel, and like it recognizes that my phone's in the car, and it'll play like Bluetooth like I have no concept of what that's like, but I've heard it's very, very nice. And for just a few grand more than what I can sell both of these for, I can get that. And I will need a truck, especially when I buy a place out here, because I know myself, I'm going to get a fixer-upper, and I'm going to be going to Home Depot every 4 days to get plywood and
Right.
2x4s. So, it can't be another commuter car. But I think I could get a pretty economical little 4-banger pickup with the technology.
Why economical, Steve? Why not pimp something out?
That's the thing.
If you had to pay $500 a month for a car payment, would that, for 4 years, would that just drive you to the edge of insanity? Is that just way too
It
much?
would, yeah. If I can't pay cash for a car, I'm just not going to get it. That would just
That's
drive me
probably
insane.
a good good
Because
policy.
it's like one of the guys at work was telling me. He said he's got I think he owes 17,000 left on his truck, but he has 25,000 sitting in his bank. And I'm like, well, and we worked out his payments and everything, and I said, okay, it's 17 grand. you could pay that off right now and you'd be done with 17 grand, and that's what it cost you. And he's all, yeah, but then I don't have 25 in the bank anymore. And I'm all, true, but this 17,000 over the next 3 years is going to cost you an extra. We worked it out. It was like $1,400 or something. So I'm like, so you can either pay 17 now, or you can pay 18,400 over the course of 3 years. Like,
well, you might be better off using that money if it's a low interest rate. You putting that money in the market, right? Or, well, I mean, that's a gamble, but
I think, yeah, I'd rather just save the 1,400 right now, and then from here on out, that extra $500 that you don't have to pay a month or whatever the payment was, you can put into the market.
maybe I will have to listen to this dumbass Steve finance podcast because I'm already learning something right now.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I don't know. I was looking.
You're not having a midlife crisis then, where you want a little sporty car here. It's all about still just watching the dollars.
It's that I think the truck is going to end up being a little bit more, even though I won't have insurance on 2 cars. It'll be a newer truck, so the insurance will probably be a little bit more. I could probably just get liability like I already have right now, and then it wouldn't. I mean, it's not going to be the end of the world if I crash this thing and I'm out 12 grand or something. You know, it won't be that big of a deal. I might save more in the long run with that, but gas will be more. Right now I'm getting 38 miles of the gallon, and I think the best I can get on these trucks is probably 24, and that might even be a little generous. But I really don't drive that much, you know, like I average, since I got my plane, I only average 6,000 miles a year. Before I had my plane, I was doing like 15. But now all those long miles to Vegas or, you know, like the whole summer out to Parker, Arizona, none of those get put on the car. It just gets put on the plane. So, you know, if I get this truck for the next 10 years, realistically, I'm probably going to put 60 or 70,000 miles on it, which on these little Nissans and Toyotas is absolutely nothing. You know, those things will go 300,000 before they need the motor rebuild. So I could even get one with 150,000 on it, and that would be fine, you know.
Apparently, you have a good mechanic you trust.
Myself. My
brother really?
Too.
You're the one who kept that truck going for 350,000 miles?
Oh no, I just got that truck like 5 years ago. But the car has 200,000 miles on it, and yeah, I took it to a mechanic once, and it was because the fuel pump went out. And
but you change your own oil always, and
yeah, I changed my own oil filter, spark plugs, transmission gear oil, all that stuff.
Brakes. You don't do brakes, do you?
Yeah, I'll do brakes.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Isn't that a real hard job? Okay. Where'd you learn this shit, Steve?
I learned it when I was a kid. My dad was always working on cars, and there was a way for us to spend time together. So I'd go out and work with him. Was that
a natural thing for anytime someone was doing something you didn't know how to do, you'd watch like what are they doing exactly? Is that a natural?
So. Yeah, I think just curiosity. I like the mechanics and stuff too. It's interesting to me. But brakes aren't bad. You know what I do? Any car that I get, I go and get one of those Chilton's auto manual things on that exact car. Yeah. And so like anytime something little breaks, like I don't know, the trunk doesn't release when you pull the thing, you know, it'll show you exactly where the cable and wires run and everything, and you can pretty easily figure it out or do a brake job or whatever, you know. Yeah, so I think that'll be in my future. First thing first is to sell the little donkey truck, and then buy the Nissan or Toyota or whatever I'm going to get, and then sell the Honda Civic, and then that'll be the order. But anyhow, looking forward to that. That'll be kind of neat. That'll be good to enter the 21st century as far as technology is concerned with a vehicle.
Yeah, we got to. I'm trying to crunch some numbers on my own here, Steve. I don't know. My poker future doesn't look too bright. I don't know what else to do though.
What do you got?
Because my just all the little factors. Even if I move into a place and find a place where I save $1,000 a month rent, right now there's no rake back at my casino.
Oh, they took that away, huh?
So they're just so busy they don't have to, I guess. I don't know. They're outside. I'm hoping I'm kind of hoping business slows down a little bit there. I mean, I want the game tables to be filled, but
Wait, they're doing poker outside?
yeah, they got the tent outside.
Oh, wow.
So,
it's
but
safer in a tent? Is it like
I guess
open or
so.
something? Or
It's supposed to be safer than inside or whatever. It's just the law.
okay.
But what was I saying? There's just a lot of. If I start, I'm going next week to see my lady friend in South Carolina again,
Oh, cool.
which is good. But I've done the math here. The plane ticket's only like $450. But if I were to go to there 1 week every month, I mean that's a week that I'm not working. That's $1,500 to $2,000. So over the course of the year, it's like a $20,000 hit to my income. So I either need to work. But anyways, no rake back. A large increase in expenses, I'm gonna, even if I found rent that's much cheaper, I'm still gonna be having to work like 60 hours a week just to make up for it. And like you said, all those little calculations I've done. Well, what if I stop going to this casino? I was already breaking, like, listen, I played 15,000 hours in this casino. I want the damn rake back, find a way. And then they'll be like, no, we're not doing rake back now. And I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go to this other casino. Start my protest, see if it works. But just going to this other casino, I think we talked about this before, is like a 40-minute drive. So just between gas mileage and the time that I'm driving, it's just so convenient. The Oceans is like a 6-minute drive for me, Steve. It's just so convenient. I can go there. If I'm feeling tired, I go home, take a nap for an hour, get something to eat, come back a couple hours later. No other casino offers me that opportunity. The rest of them are too far away. So it's probably going to be Oceans. But like I said, if there's a week every month I'm not working, it becomes really, really important that I find a cheaper place to stay in some sort of arrangement. And I'm going to try to find some other poker players. There's still like a 10% chance I'm going to have to pick up and move totally out of state here. But
what are you going to do about Jonah?
Well, I'm hoping to take him. Well, if I got my brother's in Tennessee, where I'd go, and especially, basically, I would be coming out to California. I mean, I have Jonah usually eight or 9 nights a month.
Okay.
So I would come out to California and stay in a hotel or hopefully find a cheap place. Someone will let me crash at their place here, and there's also a chance if he moved to Florida, his mother might join me. I don't know. A lot of stuff going on, but.
Well,
bottom line, I have to get very creative in a way to pay the bills here. And actually, Steve, just while we're I don't even want to, the calculations for did I already give this to you last time we were talking about credit card bills? I did the math of how much it would cost me to pay it all off.
I don't remember that.
Well, not to be, my credit card bills are high. They're like over the 30,000 right now, Steve.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. I had no, when the COVID started, I had zero.
Okay.
COVID's destroyed me. But if I were to pay it, if I were to not use the credit cards, just pay the minimum payment every month with the interest is called, it will take about 16 years and that 30,000 will cost me. You want to take a guess? You probably could.
90?
Yeah. A little over 90.
Wow. Okay.
So they would get $60,000 in interest from me. And that's, that I can't afford. So, there's going to be probably going to have to not pay a couple of these, and that'll lead to all sorts of, it'll take a while. It's going to take a while for me to dig myself. Like I said, this year's been
COVID's
tough.
Been a killer.
Steven. I mean, it's changed me on a personal level too. I don't know I think we've talked about this before in a way I can't explain. I don't know if it's depression or it's just survival is not an easy thing for me now. Like in my mind, it's all I'm focused on. You know what I mean? Because I've always been on the edge, but this was much closer to the edge than I've ever experienced, and it's no going back at the sight of the risk of sounding ridiculous, but that's kind of just how I feel. That's how I've experienced it, and it's just been traumatic. I don't know. Hopefully, we're reaching the end, but I don't know.
I don't know. They're
for all those Trump supporters who are claiming like conspiracy, they literally were saying, "Oh, as soon as Trump loses, the vaccine will come out the next day," and it actually did.
It did.
Kind of. I don't know. So it's kind of funny that happened.
I remember thinking, hopefully. I was like, when he was saying a couple of weeks before the election, he was like, Yeah, we're just weeks away from a vaccine. We're weeks away. And I was like, huh, yeah, whatever. And then right after election, it's 90% effective. I'm like, huh, this seems a little too coincidental. Or was he telling the truth this whole time?
Yeah, I don't know. We need to get going with it, whatever it is.
You know, it's funny. I feel like most people are Democrats, and that's evidence of that is from this last election. That was by far the popular vote. However, also most people want the Republican form of COVID response. Have you noticed that?
I think, yeah, it just, I mean, all you need to know is our goddamn governor of California, Newsom, was shown in in a gathering in a restaurant with the doors closed with a bunch of 15 people unmasked. It's like nobody, I mean, I don't think anyone believes it, but no one's going to let their own happiness be inconvenienced by this thing.
Yeah.
They're okay with other people doing it.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same. Like with the guys at work, they just came out with a standing order that, there's to be no families visiting for Thanksgiving, which is, I've been involved with this department since I was 16 years old. And this is the first time that's ever happened. And like my fireman was like, well, is it okay if my family comes and just delivers like food for us, but they don't stay? And I'm like, well, shit, I got to enforce what the department says, but I feel like, I think that they should all be able to come into the station when we share Thanksgiving together, but it doesn't matter what I think. Like it matters what the boss thinks, so it's, I just want this damn thing to be over. I really do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping though, at the very least, we get another little round of government assistance and unemployment extending if they're going to shut down or not open it up completely. We need fucking that. At least I do.
Yeah. 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 I wish they'd just open it up. If you're susceptible to COVID, then do your best to social distance and isolate. And if
that's pretty much all it is. Try to protect our, I don't envy the politicians right now. I would not feel comfortable making these choices.
Yeah.
Because you can tell me how the risks are this great, but I look around and I see a lot of people just going on with their lives, and I'm like, okay, they should be allowed to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I like what Pence said. He said that we'll put it on the states and we'll put it on the individuals. If you have grandma and grandpa living with you, you may have to limit those grandchildren going out. And if you're a single male living alone, it's on you. Like I like that. I like that attitude, and I think it would keep the economy going. I think it would protect the people that are most vulnerable to it, because there wouldn't be this social stigma, like
Right.
Aunt Faye won't come out of the house because you decide what your level of risk is. It's been going on long enough. We know the risk. You could permanently lose your sense of taste and smell, or it could kill you.
You could infect someone else too. Yeah. Yeah, I get the big one for me, of course, that I'm noticing is it's just horrible for the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs school every day, and like my son needs swim team and some physical activities. He's actually gotten kind of chunky here these last few months without that.
Yeah.
Without swim team and karate.
Yeah. Yeah. And and what's the deal with closing the pools? I mean, there's fucking chlorine in there. Like, I mean, if anything's going to kill it, it's going to be that, You can't swim in chlorinated water. Like,
I don't know how it works. That's funny. It's because the hot tub at my complex here is closed, and I used to love that thing. I go there once every night and relax in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, yeah. I mean, some of these places, like I said, school, everyone's saying is like about the safest damn place you can have. Do you know what I mean? The kids are better off at school than they are at home. But I mean, these are people who are, I don't know, fake news, Steve. I don't know what to believe.
Yeah. I really hope they don't go forward with the Democratic plan of like plastic divider. They're not opening the school until every student has plastic dividers and a proper ventilation system in every classroom. I'm like, okay, so we do this for 4 months and then just shit can all that plastic and the ventilation systems. Like, does that make any sense? And the kids are going to go out in recess and play together anyways. So how does that help to isolate them? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? And
right.
if the parents of those kids aren't worried about COVID, then put them in school. And if you got grandma and grandpa living home with you, maybe you continue the homeschooling, like put it on the individuals. I think that people have enough information now and they're responsible enough, like let them do it.
Yeah, or just send sick people around to lick the faces and the eyeballs, of the old people while they sleep, Steve.
Yeah.
That's the only way to cut down on Social Security, Ben, and save the country.
Oh, it's so bad.
I'm surprised, not to go back to them. I was kind of expecting the market to take a big dip when Biden was declared the winner, but it appears not.
Yeah.
It appears like that used to be kind of an old. I think that's old changing. It used to be like the Republicans were the party of like the big corporations, but that might be switching. Trump, America first. All the tech companies, of course, are very liberal. So yeah, it's just interesting how that changes. If the Republican Party is now the one that's worried less about the stock market and worried more about working people, I don't know.
I'm not sure what caused that spike because when I called my buddies and I'm like, yeah, the graphs look good here, I would get in and they're like, before the election? And I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. But logically, I would have thought the same, that when Biden got elected, the stocks are going to take a shit. Because I think, generally speaking, there's probably more Republicans in the stock market than there are Democrats. But I don't know. Maybe it was a thing of, maybe it had less to do with the election and more to do with the Pfizer 90% effective vaccine. If that's the case, maybe there was a whole bunch of people that did not feel comfortable with the stock market since COVID happened, and this was their cue to get in. And what's interesting about when that news came out, because it happened over the weekend, and the market is closed on the weekends. So it closes at California time, it closes at 1 o'clock. In New York time, it closes at 4 on Friday. And it doesn't open again until 6:30 in the morning California time and 9:30 in the morning New York time on Monday. So you have 2 days or 2.5 days of time there where you can still kind of purchase in the market, but it's more of like you place it in and get a market order for whatever the price of that stock is going to be on Monday. So if you had a whole bunch of people that watched this news and found out, wow, Pfizer came out with a 90% effective thing. I've been waiting for this for 7 months. I'm going to go on Sunday on my Vanguard account and just buy $5,000 worth of stocks, not understanding that you're buying it at whatever the market opens at on Monday. They could have just gotten flooded with all these orders, which would cause these dramatic increases. And maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But it seems logical to me that might have been it.
I know. Quickly, market. I think if you remember, I opened a small account on Robinhood.
Yeah.
Just to kind of teach my son about money, and we looked at the market each day. And I ended up selling it all. I ended up making like $2,000. I guess I got it in at the right time. Put in like 4 and took out like 6.
Nice.
But there's the one I had, I think the most of, or one of the was Moderna. Do you know what that is? That's they were building a vaccine. I don't know. They're supposedly competing with Pfizer, or still think they have their own vaccine, which is viable. But anyways, I don't remember. I want to say I bought it at 30, sold it at 50, and now it was 100 the other day.
Oh wow.
It took a real big spike with that. I'd have to double check, see if it's still
okay.
What the stock price is. But just saying, I was kind of zoned into what was going on out there. I knew what I was buying anyways.
That's the thing, is like that's what everyone sells. When do you buy and when do you sell? That's what all the programs are all about. If you know when to buy and sell, then everything else takes care of itself.
Wow, Moderna is still going up, $109.
Wow.
Let me just look at the year. What's the 52-week range? It was $17.68 was the lowest it's been over the last year. So they've been working on the.
Yeah, I missed that whole what do you call it, COVID craze. As far as it comes to like finding a cure or something, there I probably could have done more research, like I did with the airlines. I killed it on that one. I probably should have done the same with vaccines. I just figured it was going to be so volatile, I didn't even want to touch it.
Right.
For every 3 that skyrocketed like that, there might have been 9 that took a shit. I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I figure it's way too late now.
Let me see. What's a Novio's present price? $10. A Novio I bought at like 10 and sold it at like 33, and then it's just gone down and stayed down. So they actually, this is another medical company that was working on a vaccine supposedly.
Okay.
So they must be behind the others. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They didn't win.
No.
Yeah.
Winner take all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right on.
So you've mentioned on several previous episodes about switching the name of the show. Did any of your customers, fans, say anything, listeners?
Yeah.
Followers?
Yeah. We took a little vote and everything, and In It to Win It with Steve Barton pretty much won out hands down.
Okay. Who came up with that name?
Sean.
Okay.
Sean
Fogelman?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice work, Sean.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Pretty cool. Yeah. I think it's a lot better than the Stevie B show.
Yeah, I think so. I like it. In It to Win It. Sure. There's no you did the search that there's no In It to Win It with Steve Smartin. Like, something similar in name, you know what I mean? Anything like that where you're
No, we're good. So that's cool.
So you got it. Now you have to think differently about the different kind of guests you're going to get, though. You're going to, follow some big investment guys on Twitter, try to communicate with them. Maybe you can get a big name in there somewhere.
Yeah.
An actual billionaire, Stevie. Have you had a conversation with an actual billionaire? I remember you telling me a story about one of them, maybe.
I've met 2 in my life that I know are billionaires. One of them was Adi Moreno, the owner of the Angels.
Okay.
And one thing that impressed me right away, I went to a spring training game out in Tempe, Arizona, and my buddy was like, "Hey, that's Adi Moreno," and I'm like, "Oh, he fucking owns this team, right?" And he's all, "Yeah." And so we went down and shook his hand, and the first thing he said to us was, he's all, "Thanks for coming to the game." And then I asked him a little tidbit. I said, if you got one golden nugget to throw out to the average Joe, what would it be? And he said, he kind of thought for a little bit, and he's all, just always be grateful. And I was like, wow, that goes exactly in line with what his first words were. Thanks for coming to the game.
Right.
And then I met another one, Don Laughlin, the guy that Laughlin, Nevada is named after.
Okay. Yeah. That's right.
A little history on him. He flew over Laughlin like 60 years ago in his little Cessna and thought that would be a great place for a casino. And, 60 years later, he's just never stopped building. And
he bought all the land in town, probably made a lot off the real estate, right?
Yes, that. And he just started with a couple of slot machines and a couple of rooms and just kept going until he's got a giant casino on the river. And I asked him the same thing. And he said, it wasn't what I expected, but he said, over the course of your life, you're going to have a lot of employees. And he said, don't hire anyone that's on drugs. And I'm like, that's random, but probably very good advice. And he's, especially out here in Laughlin, the drugs are just rampant. And he said, so I got to do random testing. And, if you hire drug addicts, it's just going to, waste you away. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Probably good advice. I don't think I would knowingly hire a meth addict, but
do you think you'd have a good sense if you put 20 people in a room? How much time would it take before you find out who's the other Stevie B hustler there who's going to do everything possible to make his dreams come true? Would you sniff that out pretty fast? You think, or what?
I think so. I thought you were going to ask me if I could tell who was on drugs, and I was going to say, I think I could tell that one pretty quick because 6 out of the 10 calls that I run every day at work, 6 of them are on drugs, and I put that pattern together pretty well. But,
the only advice I remember this is when I read a book on how to open a used bookstore, and the guy's like, if you want to know how to hire, try to drive with someone and driving. If they're not a good driver, this was his thing. If they're all skittish behind the wheel, they're not going to be a good employee. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's
interesting.
That was interesting thing though. If it's anyone who's like nervous driving, then he doesn't want them. in a store. I don't know. Would that have anything? But I'm sure there's a lot of successful people who have their own
That's
little
interesting.
little blink points of little nuggets of quick information where they can tell if somebody is going to be good or not. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned that about driving. I remember one of the captains I had that I worked for probably half a decade. When he was teaching me how to drive, he said something I'll never forget. And he said that how you drive is a direct reflection of your personality. And he said, if you are an aggressive driver, then you're just an aggressive person. If you're a passive driver, then you're a passive person. He said, you watch how people drive and you watch their overall personality, and they're exactly the same. And I've paid attention to that since then. And he's right. How you drive is just a mirror of who you are as a person. Are you the guy that when somebody puts on their turn signal, do you fucking speed up? So now you're in his blind spot and you risk, getting hit by him? Or are you the guy that taps the brakes slightly and waves him over? You know what I mean? It's all a reflection of who you are.
Yeah, I'm very passive out there. Go ahead, dude. You want to take a spot there?
Yeah. Like I look at an ex-girlfriend and she, oh my God, she would tailgate, but that was a reflection of her personality by far. She'd rather tailgate in the slow lane than just pass him. I'm like, what is that song?
Right.
You're just going to get it in a wreck and it's going to be your fault. Like you literally ran into the ass end of him. How is that not your fault?
I joked with my son's mother that every driver with her, she used to, I don't know if she does, she used to curse all the time. And it was like every single driver in front of her was an asshole, and everyone behind her was a lunatic. I mean, they were all creating some sort of peril on the road, but it was, the ones in front wouldn't move or were stopping and going and doing this. And the one in the back were just, racing behind her bumper and just ready to do damage and indifferent to others.
There you go. Case in point. Case in point.
Yeah, no, I am I'm not a great driver though. I will fly through a red light and not notice sometimes. It's amazing. I've, haven't killed anybody, frankly, but,
yeah,
I'm very like when the traffic's merging and all that, I'm just relaxed, very moving around, but sometimes I'm just spacing out. I create some fatal possibility situations. Yeah, I don't know.
One of the ones where I could be better, and I knowingly do this, is when I pull up to the intersection and, okay, so let's say you have green lights going, northbound and southbound, right? And we're going northbound, but we're in the left turn lane and we have a red arrow, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can all picture that, right? Northbound, southbound, we're going northbound, and we have a red arrow because we're turning left. If there's no traffic coming at me, I just fucking go. I completely ignore the red arrow. I check the crosswalk, make sure no one's crossing. There's no traffic coming at me.
Well, they got the traffic lights everywhere in this part of the state. I don't know.
Well, that's part of the skill is you have to recognize when those lights are there and when they're not, and you also got to scan the intersection for cops. I've made one mistake there, and it cost me about $500 because I did not see the the cameras. So now I feel like I have to double down and do it more to make up for that ticket. Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah,
oh, you mean to look more?
No. I have to do it more often now so that I make up for the cost of that ticket.
Oh, see,
because every time I do this, I'm probably saving 3 minutes of my life, not just sitting at a red light.
Right.
So if I can get another like 1,000 of these under my belt, then that'll save me 3,000 minutes, which will probably be the equivalent of.
Well, you could just stop doing it and save yourself $500 for the next ticket. I don't know if your EV calculations are going to make hold up to scrutiny here, Steve. But
you might be right. But yeah, I don't know. I feel that this probably goes in with my personality of just inefficiency. Like put the responsibility on the driver. Don't even have the red arrow there. Just like leave it green lights both ways and just trust that people are going to look for traffic and not pull out in front of them. But I think the theory is that people are too fucking stupid they have to have an arrow there to tell them when it's safe or not. I don't abide by that.
I like arrows. I like stoplights. I like straight lines, Steve. My life is chaotic. I'm glad the highway people are trying to reduce that somewhat by offering a little clarity out there. No, but it's interesting. I think we talked about, because I used to have a professor who talked about all these, who had all sorts of interesting tidbits that related to human nature. And I thought it was interesting. I think maybe I shared it before, but like one of them was people are much more likely to get hit in a crosswalk if there's a walk, don't walk signs than if there isn't. Really? Because you're just relying on people to be responsible. You know what I mean? You're not checking looking 3 times and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that was interesting. People see the crosswalk and they walk and assume that it's safe, where if there's no crosswalk there, you'd be looking carefully both ways several times, making sure there's no cars around,
Yeah, you feel like the walk sign has blessed you from getting hit by a car, but really all it's done is it's just told you that the light in front of you has turned green, so it's safer.
Yeah. It would make sense. I mean,
likely safer than not, so you don't double check like you would.
Another one was interesting, where you improving the brakes on a car. It was theorized that it didn't necessarily improve the amount of rear end collisions you're going to have. And the reason was, they said if people had better brakes, they just drive closer because they feel more confident in the brakes.
Okay.
They're less, you know what I mean? They're less concerned about the braking, I guess. Do you know what I mean? So it's, I guess that having improvement of brakes doesn't necessarily save lives, according to this guy. I don't remember. This was a long time ago, but you understand kind of how human nature there. Basically, we're willing to accept risk.
Yeah. Yeah. You know the limit, and you just go right up to that, and that limit is decided by your braking power.
It's just people are, they want to. I mean, I guess it's a COVID analogy too. It's like people, yes, you just put the information out there.
Yeah.
But
yep. Yeah.
You ever had a tailgater? These are the ones that I always mean, like it's like a stop and go traffic, or it's moving slow and you switch lanes. Mm-hmm. And then there's some guy you can see in the lane you've switched to is like racing, like he has plenty of time to like slow down, but he'll cut up to you like, tailgate, get within a foot behind you, and then slow down, like letting you know that you've inconvenienced him.
Yes.
Something. Even though the car in front of you is going the same speed as you are, and you just pulled into traffic in a totally, I don't know. Those are always. Yeah,
there was 3 car links there. You took up one of them, and he races up until he gets to like 1.95 car links, and then stops really quickly to let you know that you pissed him off.
Yeah, I think I remember having one place I used to work where it was just it was one of those where it was like, 6-mile drive to work, but it would take 20 minutes because it was, always so congested in the morning as people, this was like kind of a country road, but it was going on. And yeah, anyways, I remember a specific one there. I'd pull out and some guy just racing behind and doing it. And then I pull off on a side road. He followed me.
Oh.
And just, I don't know if he expected me to be scared. Then I stopped. I was going like 14 miles per hour. Like, go ahead. We can do this all day, buddy. And then finally he just raced around and gave me a nasty look. I don't know if he was trying to make me scared. It wasn't working.
Yeah. I'm not in a hurry. It looks like you are.
I invented laziness, sir. I can get there whenever I get there.
Yes. Yeah. That one drives me apeshit when there's you're on a 2-lane highway, like in a mountain road, and there's a turnout every quarter mile. And the speed limit's 45 and the guy's doing 30 and he doesn't use the turnouts. It's like, yeah. Wow. Like, you're either ignorant in that you haven't looked in your rearview mirror and seen 7 cars behind you, or you have, which means you're an asshole. I don't think you're either one or the other. There's nothing else. You know what I mean? Like that. Oh, that just drives me insane.
You are inconveniencing someone else, whether it's through whether it's a mistake or not.
Yeah.
Well, Stevie, I'm sorry if this was not. I apologize for my technical snap. I'll have to fix my computer here so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, that's all good. No worries, man.
Any Any looking back here? Do we? But it's kind of a continuity. You're still going to have Carlos on at some point, right?
Oh yeah. I'll have you on hopefully. Once every month or so.
Okay.
Same show, different name.
Just gonna try to get a few more people in there.
Yes.
Under the bar. You got to write a book. Prepare for this to take off, Steve. And so start working on your book now. So then your book for planning and life improvement will be ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Hot for market.
Yes.
Just a suggestion.
As soon as it just explodes, then I'll have it ready.
You never know, Stevie.
Yeah.
I don't listen to enough of the podcast here. Some of these guys who have like similar kind of financial life coaching stuff. I'm sure. I think you could be elite at this, Steve.
We'll see.
Leaving some guys in the dust here.
I feel like right now I'm slightly above average.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, whatever your plans in life, they've succeeded. Your financial, you do pretty well for yourself. So.
Well, thank you. It's fun to me. You know what I mean? I just do shit that's fun to me. And so like, it's fun for me to every morning, like look at the stock market and, oh, it's a down day today. Everything's down. That means everything's on sale. What can I get? And whenever it's up, I'm like, oh, everything's overpriced today. What can I sell? It's fun. It's fun. I dig it. But
I assume you got a good 401k at work, right?
Yeah. I just checked that this morning, actually. I think that was one of the best decisions I made this year was right after COVID. Every single penny that I could afford, I dumped into that thing, and then other stocks right after the market took a shit. And those have been paying off. That's been amazing. I lived on about 55% of my income for the year, and the other 45% has gone into investments. And I think that
it's impressive.
I think that will pay off. It's already paying off, but I think I'll really see the benefits of that like a couple of years from now. Anyhow, right on. Well, thank you for coming on, Mikey. This was fun. You guys be sure to check out Mikey's YouTube channel. It's Broke Ass Grinder Poker. Broke Ass Grinder is one word and space poker. You'll be the first one to come up. Subscribe, be his 49th follower.
Yes.
And we'll keep this train running. So thank you for coming on, Mikey, and thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
The sun doesn't shine every day. The storms will come. There are times when the nights will be long and dark and you will be alone. There will be times when the darkness seems to consume everything. But don't let it consume you.
Sometimes you're barely making any progress. Sometimes you're barely making any progress at all. And that tough situation is making you want to stop. And what you eventually learn is you can't stop. When you're going through tough situations, you got to take that next step. You got to keep moving forward. And I know we're going through a pretty tough situation right now in a lot of different ways. Take that next step. Keep moving forward.
And the only way to overcome the challenges that you face is to start walking. Every day, get up, take that step, and start walking. Even in the darkest times, even in the strongest storms, even when the sun is blotted out and the world is falling apart, the darkness cannot extinguish your light. You, your will, your determination, no matter what is happening, no matter how hard the fight is, as long as you keep fighting, you win.